Greetings. Hope everyone is doing well today. This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast that comes to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am G Long, your host, joined as always by the lovely Deborah.
Hello, G Long.
Hello, lovely Deborah.
So,
how you been?
I've been doing well.
Really?
Yes.
What you been up to?
Getting ready for the celebration of knowledge that is the ACT. State of Louisiana's juniors take that wonderful tool.
What a coinky dink.
That
the
wonderful
ACT,
tool on Tuesday. Yeah. No,
Considering the topic.
We didn't have education on the mind.
No, I try not to think of education if I can help it, but
it's
it doesn't always
intensive
work out that way.
preparation. We've been doing, comma boot camp.
Comma boot camp.
Yeah. News, just,
The Oxford comma.
It is a really heated debate in the grammarian world, I guess.
Well, I'm just going to say right now that the ACT
It's
people
unnecessary.
put way too much emphasis on the comma
And the semicolon
on
and
their
the
grammar
colon. Yes.
test.
Yes, the colon is the is the vehicle.
And you should get that checked when you get to a certain age.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well,
Make sure
anyhow.
you check your colon.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's Proctober, isn't it, for men?
No, that's for prostate cancer.
Prostate cancer.
I
Never
don't know
mind.
if they have a colon cancer month,
but
but here's the thing.
what month should it be?
If something bad comes up, then of course you have a semicolon when they're done.
Wow. Bad pun day. It has been bad pun day.
Pun day. Oh my goodness.
So, news, this
Oh, by
most
the way,
exciting week.
email for you folks listening, longintheboot@gmail.com, and the phone number where you can text or leave a message, either one, 337-502-9011. Back on a Sunday, we posted a video that, asked the question, should we be able to use salty language on the, I can use salty language.
Yeah,
on
you
the air.
can just do it. We just wanted to get a little feedback,
I could do
and seems to be
George Carlin's 7
more
dirty
pros
words.
than cons, but
It's leaning towards the yes, use salty language, but it's so far, but I haven't got enough numbers, I don't think, to really truly make a decision.
Okay.
And it is a question.
Okay, let's just say if you see explicit on one of our podcasts, then
Just know
you can
that
know
it could be a
that we
cuss
probably used a little bit, not excessive, unless we post, specifically like it's Pirate Day and we're just going to be, filthy mouth pirates or something. Then
Speaking of which, you know where Pirate Captain
oh no.
keeps.
No, not the fucking hat. Don't do that.
You know where he keeps his
Sorry.
buccaneers under his bucking hat.
Yeah. Pirate days. Oh, speaking of that, contraband days in Lake Charles.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. Pirate days.
How unwoke of you. It's not contraband days anymore.
Yes.
It is now the Pirate
The
Festival.
Pirate Festival. And it is not nearly as much fun.
Sounds so much
Those of you
classier,
in
doesn't
the
it?
area who are younger and you've been to the Pirate Days Festival in the last few years, it's a sad, sad little event now.
Should have been a music festival.
Yeah.
Said it for years.
And,
they
well,
blew it.
But those were the old days in Lake Charles.
Those were
Okay,
the
so,
days, my friend.
We need to move to our topic.
Yeah, well, we kind of wanted to talk about college,
We do. We got to.
and we're going to talk about college in the past and also college, how we got to where we are today, and what the current events, especially what that means for college in the future.
Yes.
Because college is certainly going to change. I think. I don't think it can maintain.
Oh no,
What it's been doing.
Obviously not. No,
It certainly can't maintain the cost, which we'll get into as well.
well, sure.
But it actually goes back to a story.
Yeah, the way we decided on the topic, besides the ACT, that tool being in the forefront of our minds right now. The other issue was an event that happened way back in the
Long
ago days. Yes, the long ago time. 1982, Lake Charles. I had been at LSU I was in my second semester, and I was driving home every Friday and Saturday working at Pat O'Carroll's bartending.
Pat O'Carroll's was a restaurant for you young folks.
Yes.
That was on Preon Lake Road. Currently, I think it's the Captain's Table or something like that.
Yes, and I think they reopened.
But it was the happening place in Lake Charles at the time.
Yes, because there really wasn't.
Because there wasn't really a lot of other places.
There was nothing else happening.
Well, there was a lot of dive bars, but there was nothing like Pat.
Oh no, there was nothing you could do after hours or
right. And Pat O'Carroll's was the place, and it was also the place to work. If you were young, it was a great place to work because it just was. There were so many people working there, and it was a really festive atmosphere and not corporatized at all.
No, individually owned, and Pat was a wonderful boss, and it was just a great time. But we're reminiscing.
And I didn't know Deborah at the time.
No, I was still very young.
And I was working in the kitchen, and she was doing the college thing.
And coming home on weekends.
And as was often the case after a shift in the kitchen workers would often go out to the bar and have some
imbibe on some cocktails because it was okay back then. Today they don't generally.
They frown on that today,
but they don't let you hang out and have that kind of a.
But the workers all hung out at the restaurant, even when they were off. They did.
So it would happen one evening when I brought up the college thing because 18, having living the life in LSU.
Yes.
Failing miserably at school, but still learning a lot about myself and life in general. So I took that stance that college was going to make me a better person, a better citizen.
Right. And I was sitting at the bar. She was making, I believe, Long Island teas for myself and my friend named Tim Smith, who was also sitting there. And we were all
and I was very good at making Long Island iced teas.
And sitting next to us, though, was an older gentleman.
Yes, who had been there for a while.
It
was getting close to closing time. So
he was well into many drinks.
He was.
And we got into the conversation, and Deb was saying that, college makes you a better person. And my argument was college doesn't make you a better person. It might make you a more educated person, but it doesn't make you a better person.
Yes, and my stance, there was a long conversation, good debate, and I felt like you're going to be exposed to different people, different ideas, and you're going to work together with people, and it's just all around going to enrich your life, and everything you do becomes a fabric of yourself. It becomes part of you. So I felt like I was getting, enlightened, I guess.
And as often happens with a conversation that is fueled by alcohol.
Not me. I was sober.
No, the bartender was sober.
Yes, always.
But the gentleman that was sitting there was listening to all this, and he was starting to get involved in the discussion as well. And slowly the discussion turned into more of an argument between.
Well, he was supporting me. He felt like he needed to help me in my defense of education.
I think that as often is the case, if anybody knows me, when I get involved in a debate, I'm loath to give up my position.
Yes, a brick wall.
Yes. And so was really pushing hard to win my argument, even though there was nothing to win. I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, the gentleman started to get angry.
Yes, actually. He did. Yes, he did.
He got angrier. And so I turned my attention away from Deb and began to verbally twist him because it was easy to do. He was very drunk. And
he had told us several times that he was in, I don't know, he indicated the CIA or the FBI or something.
Who knows? But anyway, as I like to do sometimes, is I was taking the gentleman's words and I was twisting them and making a fake argument that I really didn't believe in. I wasn't really.
But you were just mad at him.
But I got angry at him, and so I just started assaulting him with words.
And anyhow, when so often happens that you can no longer defend your position anymore
with words
and ideas.
He went out and by this point the restaurant's virtually empty.
Oh yeah, no, it was about closing time. Yes, there weren't very many people there, mostly employees.
And he went out the door. I thought he was leaving.
Yes,
at first. And my friend Tim Smith was looking out the window where his car was parked. He noticed the guy went to his trunk.
So Smith went outside.
Oh, wait, no, not yet. The trunk opened, and what we saw above the trunk was the very end, the business end of an AR-15 15, which is you can't miss it. You know what you're looking at when you see it. I didn't see the whole thing, but I didn't need to. I was kind of freaked out, and Tim
Yeah, we were all a little freaked out.
saw
at
it
that
as
point.
well. And it was like, oh God, And at first I'm like, is he fixing to come
Well,
in here?
Smith and him had sort of been getting along, so he wasn't
Right.
really having animosity towards Smith.
No, he liked
So
him.
Smith goes outside.
Dude
We
goes,
then
well,
lock
I'm
the
gonna go see
door.
what he's got in his trunk.
We locked the restaurant
So
doors.
Tim went out and we locked the door behind him.
and then we all got on the floor by the window
And
and
then we all
watched.
watched. And so Tim went out, started talking to him, and was,
showing us the gun.
showing us the gun. And at one point, he took the magazine out of the weapon and put it in his back pocket.
And then we were all
the
like,
drunk guy,
oh, thank God.
The drunk guy never noticed.
No.
He
no.
cleared the rifle as well, so there wasn't one in the chamber.
Yeah.
And talked the guy down, basically,
Yeah,
just
he
being
did.
buddy,
He
just
did.
being a buddy outside. And,
The evening ended peacefully,
Luckily-
and we're here to tell you the tale.
so anyway, that was one of the times that I was probably going to get shot for running my mouth, but
that had okay.
what can I say?
And I liked you anyway. So back to the future now. After our little flashback there into 1982, college. That was our whole point here.
And so I guess what we need to do is talk about college a little bit, because college has really become.
Well, it wasn't for people like you and I.
Well, it certainly wasn't for me at the time.
I just mean when it began in America, it wasn't for moms and dads.
Oh,
and,
no,
and people.
not at all.
It wasn't for women, really.
And it wasn't even.
Not
it wasn't
normal
even for me
women.
in 1982. I was too busy having fun. I could have never.
Oh no,
ever
no! It was a bad choice for me.
gone to
Two
college.
semesters at LSU was plenty. I needed to come home and settle down and become a more responsible person.
Are you saying LSU did not give you the tools?
No, I'm saying I
necessary to live a
graduated high
responsible
school
life?
when I was 17, and then I left home at that summer, like a month and a half after graduation. It just was not the best thing. It was a very unhappy time in my life.
Well,
Ooh, thank God I survived.
So let's talk about college, because college is pushed so hard now in schools.
It really is. It really is.
And-
I think it is.
and
Pendulum is moving
the
a bit
pendulum
the
is
other way.
nudging,
We
but-
are moving a little more toward career.
10
but-
years ago in the classroom,
Oh, that was
all
it,
we could talk
college.
about was college.
Yeah, everybody was
Everything,
going to college prep.
college. Everybody has to go to college no matter
And that's
what.
just not a fit for everybody. And we wouldn't be in a good position as a country if that was the case.
Yeah.
We don't need a lot of college educated people running everything.
How many college educated plumbers have you hired?
Yeah.
You know what? I like my plumbers not going to college and instead learning the craft.
Yes, exactly.
So college in the United States, or in our country, but even before we had a country, we had a college. Obviously, Harvard is the one that started the whole thing all the way back in 1636. And it's going to be a real slow build for colleges. Colleges were not really made to do anything except at that time train clergymen, of all things.
Still.
And you could take other classes that might lead to being a lawyer, possibly a physician.
An advocate.
An advocate, yes. And you would, of course, have to study the classics. You had
Yes.
to study Greek and Latin. You had to study civics and theology.
And
was
rhetoric.
A big one.
Rhetoric.
It took another 60 years before another college was even built in North America. But the cost of college, just for fun, in 1700,
All right, 1700.
so it was 10 shillings. And you say, well, that didn't mean anything to me.
Translate.
That's a pair of shoes and 2 pairs of socks.
Oh, wow.
That was college
For a year?
for a year.
Okay.
So you might ask, well, why didn't people just go to
So
college?
were they bartering an education?
Well, the reason people didn't go to college is pretty simple. Think about what the country was. It was an agricultural country.
Yeah, no, people were still building and creating the infrastructure.
Well, you certainly weren't going to send your
You
son to
weren't.
college if
No,
you needed
you
him
need-
on the farm.
Yeah.
You know, I need that guy.
Well, that's the point, though. The only the elites' children went to college.
And for the first 150 years, when Harvard graduated a group, they were listed by their family social rank as opposed to alphabetically.
Oh, wow. So then you need to look at the rolls and see who graduated each class, who was number 1, 2, and 3, and you'd know all the movers and shakers of
Exactly.
of the future. You know who was going to be in charge.
So we get to the Revolutionary War. We've got nine colleges by then. All of our forefathers, for the most part, were college educated. Not all, but most. And there was no thing about like 4 years either. Like you could go to college.
You went and got what
leave.
you needed, and then you got out.
Right. There was no prerequisite either for going to college for like being a lawyer.
Yeah.
You could literally just set up a law practice.
All right. Sure.
Bob's Law.
Bob Law.
Bob Law.
Bob Law.
Attorney at law. Bob Law. Attorney at law.
All right. Don't go there.
Sorry. So from the time of the Revolutionary War through the 1800s, most of the 1800s, common folk just didn't go to college.
No,
it wasn't for them.
Mm-mm.
Tuition was low, super low. So given that, it was actually, kind of easy for
And a deal.
families.
Yeah. If you didn't have all of those prerequisites and guidelines and restraints on you and you had the money, then go.
Yeah, well, but everybody
If
that
you were
went
male,
had the
right?
money.
If you were
of
male.
course. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Girls
Silly
don't. Girls
me.
can't learn. Everybody knows that.
Girls don't do things.
Thomas Jefferson did change the parameters a little bit of what college meant
Okay.
when he built the University of Virginia, or helped it get built. And the other colleges in Virginia as well that really functioned like high schools do today.
Okay.
They taught things like science and agriculture, how to make things. And those were colleges, but they're today.
But it was more of a tech school.
Right. It was, yeah, exactly. And Jefferson's hope was that eventually anybody who wanted to attend could, and the state would pay for it.
Oh, yes.
That was his original idea.
Well, we've come so far.
Haven't we, though?
Yes, we have.
And so that's really through the 1800s. And then we have one big event that happens during the Civil War, weirdly enough.
Okay.
And that's the Land Grant Act passed under Lincoln,
Yes.
where states were given free land to
parse
create
out
public universities, land
okay.
grant colleges.
Yes.
And this idea was to train people to be machinists, farmers,
To
engineers,
help continue building
build
the country.
America.
Yeah.
And this is during the Civil War.
Was that for anybody then?
If you could, well, it just depended on where you were.
Okay.
But one of the things that I
Do
thought
you think
was
that
interesting,
caused like a migration of people in the country then to those areas? Like you knew?
not in 1862.
Okay.
There was a war on.
Oh, yeah, true.
But that's something that the purpose of the land grant colleges. I pulled this out of the U.S. Code. This is just a quote, but you get an idea. There was something else involved in getting people to go to these schools. Quote, without excluding other scientific and classical studies and including military tactics to teach such branches of learning as are related to agricultural and mechanical arts in order to promote the liberal and practical education of the industrial classes in the pursuits and professions of life. So notice, one, you've got some military training.
Yeah.
Also engineering, mechanical things.
Mm-hmm.
The Civil War was a mechanical war. The first one where you actually saw a change in how
So,
it was.
so really in technology. So they were driving martial technology.
Right. They didn't exclude the classics.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
But it wasn't at the
emphasize them
forefront. Yeah, it wasn't
anymore.
the main thing. So rhetoric was being, here we are again, back at the idea that when words fail.
And the best word is vocational.
Vocational, exactly.
That's what this was doing. And in a changing industrial world, we were going to need lots of people who could do these vocational jobs. And there was a second Land Grant Act in the late 1800s that increased the number of these schools. And
across the country.
for instance, all of the A&M schools are land grant colleges. LSU even started as a land grant college. And
more in the north than the south?
actually, well, once the Civil War ended, the South came along.
Mm-hmm.
But early on, you would have probably had more in the northern, because I mean they didn't even have public high schools in the South before the Civil War.
Yes.
The South had a long and illustrious tradition of not educating the masses.
No. People learn things. They start to question things. They don't know. No, it becomes an issue.
But with all of this, in the late 1800s, you have the Gilded Age.
Yes.
And many people begin asking a simple question. Why isn't college run like a business? Yeah. And so that's where you're going to start seeing something change.
Some changes.
One of the big things you're going to see change is rich people who made their money during the Gilded Age would begin donating money to these colleges. for various things,
Yeah.
endowments. And of course, they would get nice buildings named after them.
Yes. Which today we now question.
Unless they, well, yes, they got buildings named after them. But if they did something questionable,
Yes, then they get that
they get
ripped
that taken
away, despite the money that
But they're dead, and so they don't know that this happened.
but their legacy is harmed.
The other thing that happened at this time was they started hiring architects to make the buildings in colleges look better.
Oh, the facade, you mean?
Yes,
Oh,
to make them actually look like Victorian style, classical,
Roman,
or English.
Yeah.
But to make them appealing, they're selling the idea of going to
the
college.
Gilded Age, right? It looks good on the outside.
So you've got this situation. Most students, though, 90% of students went for 2 years and then left and pursued their career.
Yeah, not 5, 6,
We still don't
7.
have the 4-year idea yet.
Yeah.
Most professions do not require college
was
degrees.
That was money again, though, to keep them there. So
Well,
we set up this is the course load. You need to complete all of this. Well, wait, there's almost a semester of hours for classes that I don't think have anything to do with what I'm.
It's even worse today.
Absolutely.
And then here we go, and you're going to appreciate this considering what week we're on. In 1900, the College Entrance Examination Board formed what is called today College Board.
Oh, the College Board exam.
The organization sought to standardize college entrance requirements in order to make sure the product of U.S. colleges was up to par.
Yes, we want those students, products to graduate with
Today,
a certain
College
set of
Board
skills.
operates SAT testing, CLEP testing, and all AP classes in high schools across the nation.
Yes, and then of course the ACT Corporation, they went on into Work Keys because not everybody's going to college now, and Work Keys is the ACT of vocational school.
Yep.
And that's 3 tests. 3.
And then in the 1900s, now we are already moved into the 1900s.
Okay.
By 1910, colleges began receiving more applications than they could accept because they didn't have the space.
Because they didn't. Oh, okay.
So that's why the SAT exam became such a thing.
Because then you had
You could weed
competition
out
and you could
people.
get out people that weren't going to. Well, I know in 1949, there were 2.7 million people enrolled in college in America.
Yep.
And to put that in perspective of today, in 2020, the number was 20 million.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Now, in 1917, this is the end of World War I,
Okay.
the Student Army Training Corps, later to be known as the ROTC program, was created. And this was to alleviate colleges' fears about the impact of the war on higher education. If you had students participating, you got money from the government. So it was a way for colleges to boost their bottom line,
Yes.
to start these programs. And it created an educated
Military.
group of people to be in the military.
Yes, to go on into the military.
So they didn't have to go just to West Point. They could learn a lot of the military stuff at a college.
Yes.
Which
So sort of the vocational aspect for military.
Right. And then we see, and here we're going to go really quickly now, 1920 to 1944, college attendance went from 250,000 to 1.3 million.
Well, that's what I said, 2.7 by 1949. So
Yeah.
it exploded when the war ended.
Yes, and that's kind of where we're going. The 1920s, though, also saw the rise of sports in colleges.
A whole nother economic boon.
Right. And it also was the age, the 1920s, people who went to college behaved much differently than their parents did.
Oh, are we turning it into the rite of passage now?
It became a rite of passage to participate in large parties,
And this
to
sorority and
make
fraternities, yes.
gin in a bathtub.
Sure.
Gambling was a big part of university life. And the idea of the gentleman scholar, the idea of the gentleman scholar kind of goes away. It's kids.
It becomes tainted by the youth.
Well, youth culture
Yes.
is born in the 1920s.
All right.
And it was born on college campuses.
Yeah.
And
it began going downhill from there.
so but junior colleges then started popping up all over the country, and they specifically focused on technical and vocational studies.
For people getting right out of high school.
Right. And if you wanted a 4-year degree, after 2 years, you went.
moved on to the next step.
Right.
But you didn't have to. So that's actually a positive thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Prices also began to rise at this point, too.
Is that the point when government began paying for it?
Not yet.
Or helping to pay for
Nope.
it? No, you're still on your own.
Still on your own. There were some scholarships. There were some, I guess they were scholarships. As rich people would donate money and they would give them out as, aid to pay.
Yeah, well, I could see if were there businesses at that point giving to colleges and high schoolers, to go to college so that they could train them in whatever, field they owned, whatever business they owned.
And the prices jumped. It went crazy. It went from, and this is in today's dollars, by the way.
Okay, you're trying.
It went from $70 for a year.
For a whole year
to 133.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my gosh.
How will you ever pay that?
And
you're gonna have to sell your soul.
And that was then dollars. I'm sorry. 600 today.
600
and 1,100 at the top end.
It's still
that's dirt cheap for college. And then we had the Great Depression. Things kind of stagnated a little bit. But people going, and then of course that's pretty much everything pre-World War II is different than after World War II, because that's the GI Bill. And that changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Those men come home and they have something they can do to train.
2 million veterans
signed up,
went to college after the war. It was free.
Yeah.
It
should be. It should be for them. If they survived that and they came home, they deserve that.
And I think it's amazing, too, that the idea was to assimilate them back into a normal life. Now, they've been gone for 4 years.
Yeah.
And granted, they saw some horrible stuff.
Yeah, that would mess you up. We know it messes you up. We know that doesn't sit well for most mental health.
But you got to think about what this meant. Since the veterans were getting college for free, somebody had to pay that bill.
Yeah. Taxes went up.
The government.
Yeah, the government.
And this is the beginning. So when colleges realized that the government was paying, the cost of college tripled.
Yeah, just like medical. It's no different.
Right. It's exactly the same. In the 50s, we had Russia getting ahead of us in the space program. So colleges began focusing on science and technology, and even more people went to college. The federal government by this point is putting out billions of dollars for education. Mm-hmm. And then we get into the 60s, and the 60s are a whole different thing. Because college served two purposes in the 60s. One,
to keep you out of Vietnam.
It kept you from going to Vietnam.
To keep you out of Vietnam.
But also you have to look at it the other way around.
But not anybody could have the money to go to college in the 60s. So you're still back in that same class situation.
If you were from a poor or socially disadvantaged group.
Yeah, you're going to Vietnam.
You're going to Vietnam.
Hello.
You're going to get an education, but it's a whole different education.
Unfortunately.
You'll go to exotic places, meet strange and interesting people.
Daddy was
and
there.
Kill them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the 60s, but college also changed in the 60s.
Yes, because of
becoming more social in regards to education.
Yes.
Teaching classes in, really almost everything, but the idea that you weren't taking classes just to learn a job.
Yeah. Now you're just enlightening your mind. You're opening your yes, tune in, people, tune in.
The records refer to these as niche classes when they started.
Oh, yeah. So
like women's studies became a course in the 60s.
The hippie kids, the woke people of the 60s are the ones that took those classes. And then into the 70s. Yeah,
the boomers. They were once woke, kids.
Yeah. Hey, the 70s, that was a great decade.
What, the 70s?
Despite some bumps in the road.
Well, the hippies of the 60s became the coke-addled disco nuts of the 70s.
Yeah, I guess. Watergate was a horrific thing.
And in the 70s, we also began having government grants, and subsidized loans.
There you go.
And if you're a college, that's
another boon. Yeah.
That's a treasure
all you
chest.
do is see dollars, just more dollars. And you're going to build bigger institutions and bigger buildings and libraries.
And for those of you who've gone to college or are about to, this is also the birth of a form that every senior in America has to fill out.
FAFSA.
The FAFSA. That's right. To determine how much money you can get for college.
Make a copy of that thing, people.
Well, your best bet is if your parents can do it, when you're about 16, they need to build you your own house with your own address, and you live as an independent person. And then when you apply for a Pell Grant, you get it. Because if you live at home and your parents make a certain amount of money,
Yeah, you're not getting any
you're not
of
getting
that.
it.
Yeah. Well, and that helped us a little. I mean, I will say that helped us a little. Eventually, I didn't make the whole LSU trip, but I got you and a life there and children.
Man,
And
you were lucky.
so eventually, though, we both had to say, Olin Mills is not going to continue as a business.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
a
I'm
whole
one of
noth-
those guys that took those horrible pictures at Olin Mills.
They weren't horrible.
No, not mine.
Yeah.
My pictures were
Well,
amazing.
no, I love Olin Mills.
I'm talking
quality.
about those really bad pictures from the 70s that we all associate
Well,
with
that's
Olin
not
Mills.
because of Olin Mills. That's because of the style
the
and the
photographer.
hairstyles and the equipment and
Yeah, I cheated. I brought in other stuff.
But so when that went defunct and we both had to do something to support our family, and our now growing family.
Yes, we had to look around.
We
and
had
see.
to go back to college.
We had to examine the landscape and decide, since we were in our early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in my early 30s. You were in your late 20s, I think.
No, I was 33 when we went back
No,
to college.
I was 33.
Okay.
So you would have been 31.
Faulty memory, whatever.
Yeah.
We went back in our 30s.
Accept that I'm right, and let's move on.
Do we have to go there now, Mr. Long?
Anyway, so yes, we had to go back to college because, well, I looked around. What do I want to do? And weirdly enough, as much as I hated high school when I was in it, I decided I wanted to teach history. I wanted to teach history at the college level.
Yeah.
But I didn't have time.
And actually, in the area, that doesn't make as much money as a teacher,
As a public school teacher. That's true.
teacher. So, I wasn't down for that.
Yeah, but man, teaching college, that's how you get all the chicks.
So maybe that's why I wasn't down for that. I'm gonna have to smack it back. All right.
So anyway, so just through the 70s and 80s, nothing really changed that much other than the cost.
The cost started to skyrocket, and the ritual that surrounded it, like I said, the process of you have to go to college and go through these, traditional steps to become part of the group.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing that changed too, I should point out, is in the 70s, non-traditional students began going to college. People who were like us, in their 30s, 40s.
Adults.
I mean, I went to school. There was somebody who was 80 years old in one of my classes, 80, and was going to college for the first time.
Just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for us, it was a necessity. I didn't enjoy having to take classes that really didn't apply towards my degree. I needed to get my stuff and get out.
Well, I was getting an education degree, and for the first 2 years of college,
Yeah.
I did not have an education class.
No.
They were all basic
It was a
stuff.
waste. It was a waste of time as far
I mean,
as
I learned
that
a lot.
went. I did too.
I had good professors.
Okay,
By the way,
so
McNeese had great
instructors, great professors and
in the
instructors
80s.
for the most part.
I don't know
yes.
about now,
Yes.
speaking right now, but at that, in the 80s, in the 90s, when we started back to school, their faculty was pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I will say. All except that one karate.
Well, the stuff I learned about was stuff I wanted to know about anyway. Oh,
Yeah,
the karate guy. I remember him.
But yeah, I agree. No, I got some, but I recognized when I'm, taking a music class and
but it didn't make me a better person.
I was going to say, doesn't it sound like you're telling me that it made you a better person?
It didn't make me a better person.
It enriched your knowledge.
It made me a more educated person.
It was very
I was
stressful,
already
though.
perfect.
We were. You can just keep going there. It was very stressful to raise two kids, drive back and forth from our area into Lake Charles.
Well, for a while, I was
wasn't
driving
even
from
four-lane.
here in Longville, Ragley area to Leesville.
Oh, for your job there.
For my
at
job
the radio
there,
station.
then driving to
Yeah.
Lake Charles to go to school.
Oh, yeah.
Then back here.
And
and then
again-
going to work in Lake Charles
Yeah.
sometimes at the restaurant. And so, yeah, stressful.
It was stressful. Absolutely.
It was bad for my back. So I
Our
used the
kids came
motorcycle
with
to
us
do
a
most
lot.
of that.
Yeah, you were on the motorcycle for a while. The kids came with us for most of that during the summer if we took summer classes.
And the
they
professors were
out of
very
school
understanding about that
for
as
the most
well.
part, except that
Well,
one
that's
guy.
because our kids were well behaved.
They were. They really
And,
were. I won't complain about that.
But anyway, so through the 80s, 90s, on into the 2000s, that there's not a huge change in college other than, again, the cost.
Cost.
The cost has gone up far more than inflation has. over the years.
Okay, so now then the changes, because COVID, I mean, and that was one of the first things I said when they called the pandemic and everybody went home in the schools, and I said, man, this is going to change the landscape of everything. What are colleges going to do? We don't need sprawling campuses with giant buildings anymore. You know, that has just been, what's the waste to, you know, heat and cool a building like that, all of it.
Well, that and the sports programs, what do they cost? I looked it up. Today in this country, 17 colleges have self-supporting athletic programs.
So
17 out of all of the colleges in the country.
That's all that make the money they need to.
That's the only schools that have programs that are funded through their own revenue for sports. At most large, why are you making so much racket over there? At most large schools, the football budget program alone exceeds what the entire athletic department brings in.
So then you have to say, is it worth it?
So when you're going to college, if you don't play football, trust me, you're still paying for football.
Yeah. Well, we paid for the parking garage at McNeese.
Yeah.
The semester we were there. And the athletic
thing that we didn't
that was part of our, and well, no, I didn't live there.
Well, no. Don't you remember we were going to get free
privileges for the rest of our life? We could drive back to Lake Charles and go to the athletic center.
Spoiler, it was a lie.
We didn't get any of that. And I didn't get to park in that fine parking garage either. I had to park in BF
The president
Egypt.
of McNeese sits on a throne of lies.
Okay, stop it. Don't make me laugh.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You made me laugh a lot.
I'm not sorry. So, yeah. And then in 2010 is the big change for
2010.
2010.
Okay, our kids are graduated
So 10
high
years
school
ago.
and moved on. Yeah.
10 years ago, a few things started to happen. One, student loan debt in this country overtook credit
Yes.
card debt.
We couldn't have survived without student loans during the years that we were parents and going. We wouldn't have had any time with our children. You couldn't, and you can't be a teacher without spending an entire semester,
Student teaching.
40 hours. So you can't work.
And you're not supposed to work when you're
They
student
won't let
teaching.
you work. How do you do that? It was a very difficult situation.
Which is really crazy because what you can do is get a degree in some other field.
Yeah.
And then you can go
And then you can
teach
take
on a
an alternate
contingency
route
base.
now. Yeah, but we didn't get any of that.
Well, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about it. I took out the loans. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
At least I took them out at 1% interest. So,
Yeah, but it's
hey, man, still
and
better than now.
Not all teachers get forgiveness.
And,
I know that you think that happens, but it doesn't. Not everybody gets forgiveness. Some people fell through the cracks.
Well, it's a different program now. They changed the entire program. And then at the time that we refinanced our loans, as you do when you get out of school, if the loan company had been honest about the forgiveness program,
Yeah,
we would have
honest.
entered it. And today, because of 20 years of teaching, we would be done.
Yeah, we've paid for that long.
But that's just the way it goes. So I'm not going to complain about it, but that's not what this show's about. Don't feel sorry for me.
No.
Don't cry for me,
No.
Argentina. Oh, sorry. It's a bad movie.
Catch a snap, Mr. Long.
Okay, snap.
I think we're back here to the present.
And we are. We're to the
changes,
present.
Actually, some of the changes are that
But here-
a lot of little colleges are going to go out of business.
For sure.
The big colleges that are going to stay in business, the big names, are
And
going to
don't
hook
forget,
up
now
with.
we also have to deal with all the private colleges.
Well, no, but that's the point. Only the big name colleges are going to get sponsorships. They're going to get deals with
Sure.
big corporations, and the corporations are going to be what save the colleges.
Maybe, because a little statistic stuck out for me, and that is the unemployment rate today
For college graduates.
for college graduates.
I got that in front of me, too.
Yeah, it's around 15 to 20%.
Yeah. Most
So
college
if
graduates.
you're going to college to further your economic future,
it's different now.
it is absolutely
It's
different.
very different now. You can look at the statistics and they look like, well, it's still better to go to college, but that was 2 years ago.
Half of college graduates, when they graduate for the next 2 years, live at home with their
And
parents.
yeah, they're underemployed.
right.
They're doing something that didn't need a college degree.
For the most
So
part.
go to Votech.
And the other thing is, if they had worked, this is the fun part. The average pay for a person without a college degree today, average nationwide, is about $38,000.
Okay.
If they had worked during the time they were in school, they would have 4 years of experience working and would have made close to $160,000.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have gotten that rite of passage that is spring break.
They wouldn't have got to drink out of a beer bong, man.
Do a keg stand.
That's right.
What?
Wow. College has changed.
Well,
Yeah.
but that cost is not, well, and that's the point. When you're
And
an
here we
older
are
student
now.
going to college, that's not your focus. You just need to do what you need to do and get out and stop spending that money. But if it's the government's money or your parents', money,
Well, high schools are starting to catch on.
well, yeah,
that-
you can get a lot of college credit. You can leave high school as a sophomore in college,
Right.
with all that credit.
on that end. But the other thing is high schools now finally are starting to say, hey, maybe college isn't for everyone. And they're starting to encourage technical schools,
Yes,
which is, if you
and it's
recall,
been
was what we
coming.
started with.
And we're going back. Well,
And we're going full circle.
because people need to apprentice with somebody. I mean, that apprenticeship programs had kind of gone out of vogue as well, but that's an absolute necessity.
I kind of wish we still had that situation set up. We do,
Yeah.
I guess, on a personal business level. Example I would give is and a special, high five to Cole Air Conditioning for Moss Bluff,
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's who we've
yeah.
always used. And Mr. Cole, the owner of the business, one time came out and was talking to him outside, irritating him probably while he was working.
Yeah, but watching what
But
he was doing.
enjoying. I was watching what he was doing. He was teaching me while he was doing it.
Sure, so we
which was
can
really
actually
nice.
fix our own, because you can order the parts.
Right. And he was saying how he can't keep anybody working because as soon as they learn the craft, they start their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Ooh, that must be tough." He said, "Yeah, but how do I complain about that?
Yeah,
That's both good and bad." He said, "The problem is I lose money
by training somebody for that.
because they leave and then I have to start over again."
Yeah,
And I'm sure that's not just the only business that's happening in.
No.
Plumbing, I would think, would be one, and all. And so high schools kind of took the ball and ran with it. You okay?
I am.
Oh, okay. She burped.
It's the ginger ale.
Yeah, well, is that ginger ale?
It is ginger ale.
You don't have any of my gin in there, do you?
No,
Oh, okay. Stay away from my gin, girl.
I don't want your gin.
Oh, you know you do. You want my gin. Anyway,
Do I get 3 wishes?
so yeah, we're starting to see this more and more. And recently, we'll come again to now.
Back to, yeah.
The number of kids, juniors and seniors, that were working during the shutdown.
Well,
learning
during the
all kinds of craft.
And in our area after the hurricanes, because every hand on deck.
I had students working construction,
Kids
plumbing,
on,
electrical,
roofing, everything.
and those are people we're going to need.
Oh yeah.
The idea that we were going to send every single high school kid to college.
No, we're 6-7 months out, and we still need. There are so many people who need work done that we just can't. And now Texas needs every plumber on the planet.
Right.
So,
And we need every roofer in
we
Louisiana.
need all the
Louisiana.
roofers. We're still in a bit of a dire situation.
But it's really amazing
Yeah.
to see how much these kids have learned and how willing they are and desirous of going
It's
to
amazing
work.
what a paycheck will do for you.
Well, they want to work.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Yes.
For people who are like, young people today are lazy. Well, you know what?
They're not all.
There's always a percentage of those people.
Yeah.
But a lot of the
Your
kids I've
generation
got,
too. The generations that
they want to
complaining
work.
that-
They don't want to go to college. They want to work.
Yeah.
And apprentice programs would be the way to go now, I think,
Yeah.
for a lot of these jobs.
It has to be hands on. But then
But even that, you got to get certifications now. You got to get special cards. The government actually,
I was going to say, are there government regulations that are
well, the
getting in
government
the way?
has done that.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
you got to go to school and take a test to cut hair.
Hey, people don't want their hair messed up.
You know what?
I want a
the
licensed person.
let the market take care of it. You start cutting women's hair and screw it up, you won't be in business
Yeah,
long.
you won't be in business. But they're very strict about that. I mean, you can't cut hair in your home without having a license. People will turn you in.
But it's all kinds of things like that. The government doesn't like independent anybody.
No,
I don't believe.
no.
If you have a bakery running out of your house and they find out you're doing it,
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get a visit
you're
from a
gonna
health
get-
inspector.
Well,
We need
but
to check out your-
okay. But the other side of that, don't you kind of want that as a consumer?
Again, the market, if you're not being safe,
You figure the market will take care of it
eventually the market will take care of it.
after someone dies.
Well, that's the price you pay. How do you think we got to where
Food
we
poisoning.
How do you think we got to where we knew that button mushrooms were okay? Somebody had to eat that first bad one.
Yes, they weren't being served it in their
Hey,
meal.
everybody, Erg died.
Don't eat those.
Don't eat those. What's he doing? He ate one of the red ones with the white dots. He'll come off the ceiling later.
Well, maybe we all eat those. All right.
So anyway, today
and where it's going.
And so with the pandemic and all of that stuff, we're starting to see that maybe college isn't for everybody. Certainly, we can all agree that college costs way too much money. I did want to hit that real quick, just one thing. In 1963, the annual cost for a tuition at a four-year public college, when adjusted for inflation, so in today's dollars, one year was $2,000
Okay.
in 1963.
Okay, 1 year.
Now, that was the average. We paid less than that when we went to McNeese.
I was going to say I'm thinking our semester was about 1,500,
The first time we went it was $800 roughly.
and we were taking 12 hours.
So today, in today dollars, for college tuition, let's see, average cost of a public four-year
university.
school, 1 year, $10,000.
All right, so $8,000 more.
So $8,000 more in real dollars. For private schools, and this is the one that really shocked me, was a private four-year university. You're looking at $35,000 a year. A year. And that's not living there. That's just the tuition.
Oh, yeah.
Cost of tuition and fees. This is in addition to what I just told you. At a private school, $50,000 a year.
Oh, my Lord.
And you could live really well on $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You're talking $50,000 plus an additional $35,000, so $85,000 a year to go to school.
And they need you for 4 at minimum.
And if somebody walked up to you and said, "I'll pay you that right now to do this,"
Would you just go?
I'd jump on it, right? Tuition and room and board at a four-year public university today is about $25,000. And so the cost of college is about 5 times the rate of inflation and going up.
Yeah. So that's
And of course, we
something
all
have
know
to
the
give.
reason.
Well, sure.
It's government funding,
Government funding.
government subsidized
Well,
loans.
and then you think of all the other things that incidentals that go into college, maintaining all the buildings, you've got the maintenance, you've got technology end of it,
yeah.
you've got the athletics, just they do so much that they just keep raising the cost to offer more things, to have these
And if you've
professors
got-
come and
And if you've got loans, then people just take out the loans.
yeah, and so it doesn't really.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
And in Louisiana, we saw that with TOPS. When
we're
TOPS
co-
was
yeah.
first introduced, it was for people at a lower economic spot on at the colleges.
Economic level.
Then people got upset that poor kids could go to college without paying for it, and they had to pay for their kids to go. It's a reasonable gripe. So they made it basically available for everyone.
To everyone.
TOPS is going up constantly now because the colleges say, "Hey, if
Continue
the government's
to
going to pay
raise the
for
cost.
it, we can raise the cost."
So
and we'll still get our money.
we've reached a breaking point, and COVID really was the pivot that did it, I believe.
I think so too.
Now they have to restructure.
Because now you got kids going to college who never step foot on the campus.
Yep.
They
And
just-
why would you pay that much if
And why
I don't
should you
get
pay
all
that
the
much?
other incidentals? I
there
don't
are
get to have a
lawsuits that-
Kappa party. I don't get to have any
Right.
any of that.
And no, you've got to do that at home.
Your parents don't want you doing that at home.
You wait till they leave.
They never go.
The fact is that a lot of students now have filed lawsuits because
Oh,
they
yeah.
were sent home,
Yeah.
and then everybody thought college would start up again in the fall. And in a lot of places, that didn't happen, but they were on the hook for the tuition for the room and board
Well,
money.
but some kids rented apartments and ended up having to pay the lease and
Yes.
not get to live in the apartment.
Yep.
I mean, that
happened
happened
as
to
well.
a lot of people. And from what
So-
I got, it was not going to change for them.
My personal opinion about college has not changed, really. I don't think college makes anyone a better person.
No. I don't believe that either anymore.
So I was right. Go ahead. You can say it.
No,
You were right, honey.
It was my
Just
truth
listen
at
how I
the
say it.
time.
You were right, dear.
It was my truth at the time. You were not right at the time. For me, it was true.
We weren't talking about what was right for you. We were talking about a universal
Besides,
truth.
you had been imbibing and I had not. So
Oh, but I do my best thinking.
I know
then.
I must be right. So you,
I think
so
of
you
all the great
believe.
decisions I've made while under the
So you
influence
believe. So
of
you
adult
believe.
beverages.
All right. So, what have we learned?
What have we learned, students?
That college has gotten crazy expensive because the government paid for it. So government intervention has not been a positive in the education area. But now we're going to hopefully get a little less government and a little more business. Actually, I think a lot more business. I think big business is who's in charge. I don't think the government's really in charge
I think
anymore.
soon we're going to see like LSU brought to you by Google.
Yes, I do believe that as well. I think that's where we're going.
Welcome to Michigan State University, sponsored by Pfizer.
So then the title of the classes will change. Are we doing women's studies still if Google owns the place?
Well, yeah, but you know how you do it? You do it with like
Women in technology.
well, no, it'd be like a women's studies program, but it would be sponsored by like Massengale.
Oh, all right. You, sir, that was just misogynistic and not appropriate. I'm sorry, audience. I am so sorry for him.
But it was funny.
Yeah. All right. And we did it with no foul language, you see?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I just really want to say no, I can't.
No,
Oh,
you
man.
can't. No. We'll
It's
just
right
wait.
there.
We'll wait. So one day though, you're gonna
But I want to be a muck spewer.
you muckraker. One day you'll see an episode and it'll just say explicit, and you'll know.
And I'll probably just throw the word out there just to say it, just
to
one
do it.
time.
No, okay. Or we'd get Scarlett on, and then it would just happen.
Ooh, that would I don't know if they have enough explicit boxes for me to check for.
For the girl.
I don't know where she learned all those bad words.
Yeah, apparently it's a family tradition. Sorry,
It's a
sorry if
family
we
tradition.
ruined the image for you people. But if you're
Yeah.
listening, you probably
Well, if you know
don't
us,
care.
you know
yeah.
it's all smoke and mirrors anyway.
All right. The area is growing. We just got a nursery about to open up, and I am
Sure did.
so excited. I don't have to drive all the way to Lowe's. I can get my lovely
And you know what
plants.
else? It's not named South Bow something.
Oh, that's true.
It's most of the businesses that have opened lately have all been South Bow something.
Anyway.
And this place, well, just it was
So
something different.
upcoming, the website and
Working
and
on the website, gonna
and the
have that
merch. We're gonna have some merch.
Gonna have some merch
and we're gonna give
there,
away
and
some
we're
merch.
Give away some stuff, yeah.
'Cause I don't want to have to say merchandise. That's 3 syllables.
Well, but don't say pod. It's a podcast.
Oh,
The kids are all saying a pod.
oh,
No, a pod is what you put in your washer.
or you eat if you are really. No, I thought it was a.
Anyway, the website's coming. I'm working on it, trying to get it together. It's a learning process.
And we're calling any.
I know. I should go to college and learn.
You can just take a YouTube
I
class for
paid
that, baby.
$25,000 to learn how to do a website.
I have learned so much on YouTube; it's ridiculous. I know
YouTube
so
should
many
almost
new
be a
things.
university.
Yeah, YouTube University is
Practically a mechanic for Chevy trucks.
I know, right?
Thanks to
I've gotten
YouTube.
so much help from YouTube. We built our porch from YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
And and learned a lot.
We did learn a lot.
And it survived 2
And
hurricanes.
it survived 2 hurricanes.
Yay.
There you go. Yeah, yes.
And so there you go. If you want to go to college, go to college.
Yeah,
But if you
it's
do go to
necessary.
college, try to pay for it. Don't borrow a bunch of money because then you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
It's the downside
Make
of
the
borrowing
best-
money.
Make the best choice for what you want to do, for what your desired goal is.
Or, and don't tell anyone I told you, go get a bunch of credit cards and pay for college with your credit cards. And then that's unsecured debt. You can bankrupt all of it.
Don't tell the young people that. Then they get no credit, and we know where this is going. We're all going to have a credit score like a Google score. I watch Black Mirror. I know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to get a place to
Oh, and
live.
don't forget to get your vaccine so you can get your freedom pass.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're giving bracelets in Israel.
So if you are a business person and you are part of our audience,
you're
our
a creator,
community,
or
or
you have your own little private business, let me know. I'll be more than happy to promote you.
On the website, put
on the
you
website,
there.
I'll
Link,
talk about
link
you.
for you. We will be more than happy to.
And then
to
you
do
please
that for
pass
you.
on to your friends to maybe give a listen to the Long in the Boot podcast. I won't say it's always great, but it's laid back. It's a laid back affair. We're going to try not to get too far into the political stuff.
No,
because I am just sick and tired of all the animosity, anger, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have my opinions, and I have lots of them.
Yes.
But,
it doesn't need to be brought out every single aspect of your life. No, you can have a nice.
And I'm going to wrap it up with one last thing, which is all of the.
What?
Well, it's the thing with Dr. Seuss, real quick.
Okay.
Folks, Dr. Seuss was not canceled. This is marketing 101.
Oh, yeah.
His publishing company picked 6 titles that were not selling that well. They made a big announcement that they would no longer publish because they are problematic.
Mm-hmm.
That's virtue signaling to all the people out there who are
and
woke.
now you can't buy them
And
because they
then,
sold out.
Of course, that meant the titles began selling like hotcakes, and all the other titles did as well.
Yeah.
That was marketing. They created the buzz by doing what they did. Those titles weren't selling anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure the sales of the potato head, Mr. or
Gone
Mrs.
up.
gone up.
Guaranteed.
Increased. Yeah, absolutely.
Guaranteed. And that's marketing. It's not.
Just create a little
Calm
stir.
down,
create
people.
a little stir.
Just calm down.
Okay.
There.
All
I've
right.
said
You
it.
said it. You feel better
I
now?
do feel better.
All right. Well, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, we'll be
another week or so.
Maybe something like every week. It seems like a lot.
I don't know. You tell us. Every
Maybe
week or every other week?
Every
is
other
enough
week with a mini soda in between, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it depends on what's happening.
Maybe it does.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for today.
That is it.
It sounds like it.
All right.
Say goodbye, Deborah.
Goodbye, Deborah.
I see what you did there. Y'all take care. Have a lovely week. Enjoy this lovely weather. Ta-ta.